Welcome to a spark of awareness. We live in a time where we are constantly being stimulated, prompted by systems, by algorithms, by AI. But when we outsource our answers, we slowly give away our authority, our inner voice, our self-mastery. Conscious leadership has no shortcut, no hack, and it can only begin from within. It is the courage to stop escaping and to sit with what's alive and present inside, even when it's very uncomfortable. But that's where growth is. And this podcast is a space for that. This podcast is an evolution. And every week, I will share a 15-minute human prompt, live, non-performative. It is a moment of reflection drawn from my work in conscious leadership, from the journeys of the leaders I coach and accompany, and from what is moving in a collective film of what is humanity and leadership. I am Sophie Vaux, a conscious leadership coach and guide of transformation. I support leaders who are crossing the threshold right now from the old system of leadership, a legacy, into a deeper, more conscious way of being. If the traditional model no longer resonates, know that you are not alone, and that is your weekly practice. This is your time with your inner world. This is your weekly spark of awareness. Welcome. Welcome to a new episode of A Spark of Awareness. And for this week, I would like to touch on a theme reflecting on all my coaching journeys, the session I had with clients, without going in detail. What is in the mind of leaders who are doing the coaching work with me? Why do people come to work with me? What's really happening in the background of the business problem, the business blockers? And I want to share some of those insights of the themes I have identified with my clients. And maybe you can relate to it, because big disclaimer here, or maybe not such a big disclaimer, it is rarely about the business. Of course, when I offer coaching, clients come to me with what's the most obvious? It's a business problem. I have a problem with my team. I have a problem with my company. I want to raise money. I want to grow revenues. I want to feel more grounded. I want to feel more stable. I want to feel less stressed. So we start always with the symptoms that are in the business. But from the very first few sessions, and this is where a lot of the effectiveness of my work goes into, we go beyond the symptoms of the business. It's rarely about the business, or it's rarely about, is your vision strong enough? Do you have a product market fit? Yes, all of that matters. But what I find very interesting is it's what is preventing you from going to the success of your business. What is preventing you from doing the hard thing? What is preventing you from looking into the truth of why you really build this company? So I want to talk about that, because when I go on LinkedIn every week, I see everyone is so good at telling stories why they build the company, what they're here for. Behind the scene, that's not really why people build companies. It's not to make a million, make a unicorn, a decacorn. It's not about that. So I'll share about the main themes that I have seen now over hundreds of leaders I've worked with. And it's those reasons why they are very human at the end of the day. And once you understand them, then I can work with anybody. So there are three main needs that most of the time we go back to what leaders are really looking for through the business. First is to feel safe. Feel safe with enough money and security, that I don't have to work, or I don't have to think of how I'm getting money. And that one is interesting because when you build a business, it can be very risky, especially if you go and build something new that hasn't been done. So looking for safety through building your own business is not the best place to feel safe. And yet, the people who are building business, because they did not feel safe in a company, then they think they will feel safer by building a business. And that's where the wound, the core of the problem is that you will never feel safe anywhere. If you don't feel safe in a corporate job, or if you don't feel safe building your business, you will not feel safe anywhere. There's no magic pills. And so a lot of the work we do, if that's really the source of the blockers, on how to build safety from within. The second need that I've talked about as well in the 6 human needs, but here I'm categorizing the big core themes, is to feel seen. So you have then the second category of leaders, entrepreneurs who are building something because they need to express. So they build the business to express themselves as artists, as creatives, to be recognized, to be significant, to make an impact in the world. And that's great. That's also a burden when it has no end. So you can be seen by millions. Let's say you are building a business where you have tons of followers, tons of users. It doesn't materialize necessarily in revenues, but it's great to be recognized, and you have all the LinkedIn posts and all the LinkedIn likes, but it doesn't materialize. And here we go back to, why is it important for people to feel seen? Well, when you feel seen, you feel that you are validated, you feel that you belong, that you are part of a group, you feel worthy, and so you feel safe. We always go back to safety. And the last core theme I see, it's feeling connected. Feeling connected to belong. I think the need of safety is very, very present at the core for everybody. But the feeling of connection is sense of belonging, right? So when you are building your own business, you are part of a community, you have some sort of social status, the power of a status of being a CEO, an entrepreneur, and that feels great. And so you belong to the club, and you are not like at a networking event saying, hey, I'm just me, I'm Sophie, and I'm nobody. Nobody wants to present themselves like that. And so that's a way also to feel to belong. So I find quite interesting when leaders are not aware why they build the business, and they go in the building a business telling the story, I want to make an impact, I want to express my art, I want to create security for myself, make money. The business is not going to be the answer for that. And that's where the fallacy is, and that's where a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of stress comes in. And it's quite fascinating for me, because along the journey, as we allow to give space, confidentiality, and safety, everyone who comes work with me is going to go to that place to really look at their deeper why they started it. And when we have leaders going to that place, it starts to question something very uncomfortable. If I were feeling safe or feeling worthy, would I still be chasing that role, that money, that company exit? And the answer is no. So for me, it got me reflect a lot on what is a good business. Because if we have entrepreneurs on one end who are driven by a fear of not being enough, and a fear of not being seen, not being loved, and it's a great driver to build a company that will exit, and that's what investors want, it's built on quite an unhealthy basis. It's built on a wound, it's built on an insecurity, and it's lived throughout the whole system of the organization on that same insecurity. And when I speak to people in games these days, I'm not hearing so many people saying, I love my job. I love my job. I love working in games. I feel passionate, creative about what I'm doing. It's more, it's okay. I don't know how long will I stay. I'm just doing my job, don't love it, etc. So I'm not hearing a lot of joy in people working in games. And when I speak to leaders, it's more a survival state. If I feel collective, sometimes I think of organization and industries. What is the collective psyche and collective consciousness of an industry? And right now in tech and games, it's a lot of fear. People are afraid to lose their job, and we see statistically every week people losing jobs, not knowing what to do when they are let go. Who are they when they don't have this job? Who are they after 15 years of experience in tech and trying to find the next job and being fired again? It creates a lot of insecurity, instability. And we're going to enter a whole generation of people who have to figure out who they are in this next era of their lives when they are not that title, that role, or that experience. So I have a lot of work to do as well. But that's what I wanted to share, to give also a macro perspective on what's going on a human level in the industry, in games, in tech at the moment. And at the level of leaders, there's a complete loss of sense of purpose. People have completely lost the sense of why they're here, why have they built the business. And when we work on that, I'm having reasons that have nothing to do with the business. And deep down, maybe some stories are having a sense of self-worth, and they think that being successful in business is the ultimate way to feel worthy, to feel loved. And guess what? There's no end to this. You may find more success, you may make more revenues, but the emptiness will still be inside. And so it's a dead hole. For leaders who are looking for love, partnership, we have had those conversations, and feeling worthy, especially for men, having an exit, being successful, being recognized, so you are worthy of love. Oof, it's quite a long journey to find a partner. So I'm sharing this not to shame anyone, but I'm sharing this from quite an extensive set of data points from my own experience working with so many people now after a few years, over 100. And to go back always to those themes, I'm saying this for awareness, self-awareness, because if we had more consciousness in leaders why they build business, then we would work on the source. How about we create businesses when there's already a sense of self-love, a sense of self-worth? We would not create a business to compensate the emptiness in how we feel inside, but we would create businesses to actually create the proper value in the market, in the world, with employees and team, and not for extraction. So right now, what I see, it's fear feeding fear. There's a fear in the leadership level, and there's fear on the employee level, team levels. And it's just a fear cycle, and everybody is here to fight to survive and afraid to lose their security. And when you are so busy to protect yourself, I don't have a lot of hope for what is created to create actual value, something good for the world, something good for impact, something thoughtful, something with awareness. It's all for survival. Who's going to make money, more money? Who's going to take market share from who? And it's just taking more from one side or the other, but less and less value creation. So where do we go from there? To me, it starts with self-awareness. So as you're listening to this, do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Do you know why you have building this business? Or do you know why you're going on this journey? Or do you know why you're still on that job? Yes, it's all good if you're here to survive. But is that true? Can you take some time to question and take a step back? Are you in survival mode for good reason, or is it just an autopilot program that actually limits your intelligence, yourself, and your growth? And that's where we start the work with all leaders, self-awareness. And then the second step, once we have self-awareness, you can go back to the previous episode and do the journaling for yourself, because not everybody can work with me, because first, I don't have a capacity to work with everybody, and not everybody has the timing, the budget, the priority. I understand that. But if you really go back to all the episodes that I have created so far, the coaching episodes, it's quite some private sessions as well with me if you do this work. The second step after self-awareness is decision. Who do you want to be? How do you want to live this life? How do you want to spend your time and energy? And that's where I see many leaders feeling a little stuck. Yes, they know the self-sabotage. Yes, they know they are not in the right place. Yes, they know something needs to shift, and still they're paralyzed, stuck in paralysis analysis. Why? Fear of the unknown, fear of what's on the other side. Who am I if I'm not doing this? Can I let go of control? Am I going to be safe? Or I've worked so hard, sunk cost fallacy, to be in that place that feels safe, but it's not safe. But I can't risk to go on the other side. And that's where many people are in this transit. And I guide and accompany this journey because it's not going to be a process of the mind. I know many are spending time to make a plan, take the pros and cons, a very complex plan, and still they know the plan and are not moving. Why? Because this is not a process of the mind. This is a movement. It's like you are on autopilot and all your life you learn how to be in the comfort zone or to stay safe, to not take risks, because it's a survival part of the brain. When you are more in the cognitive thinking, like in a more developed part of the brain, where we have wisdom, intelligence, slowing down. If you have read the book Thinking Fast and Slow, when you are thinking slower, you have actually a good level of decision. That's when we can actually make a change. So to get to that stage, you need to hack the system that is in survival mode. And the way I work with clients, it needs momentum. So as you are here, standing at the edge, asking yourself, should I jump or not? What is the right time to jump? There will never be a right time. That has to be a body decision. But you can get some help. Here you have enough will and you can do it yourself. Or it's also acknowledging your limits. And it's okay, there's no shame here. And work with something that will drive the momentum. Could be a coach, could be a container, a mastermind, could be a group accountability, anything that will create movement, a stream of energy, so you are in movement and in change. Because if not, it's very comfortable to stay in the status quo for everyone. But when you're not growing and you stay in the comfort zone, it's a slow death. Not physical yet, but a slow death of the soul, the mind, apathy, not feeling excited about anything, but not feeling super stressed. It's like kind of at neutral level. And is this a way to live? Is this how you want to live? So for me personally, I'd rather be feeling fully alive and take the risk of feeling all the other feelings that go with aliveness: fear, grief, anger, shame, disgust, all the feelings, but I'm comfortable with them now, that I can feel fully alive and feel fully the depth of what joy and aliveness is. And that's always going to be a personal choice for each. So my invitation for this reflection this week, it's, where are you in your process, in your journey? Are you honest with yourself? Do you have awareness of where you are and the choices you're making? And as you're getting awareness, how are you taking responsibility for your life? Or is this the fault of the market, of the world, and you have given away your power, your responsibility? And if so, it's so easy to not do anything. I'm going to always ask you the question for reflection and face your own self and your truth. And my last question for reflection: what will you do once you know? So I will continue in the coming weeks with some reflection on some tools and sharing more insights about my work with leaders. As I shared, I'm going to open more my work working with somatic work and what happens beyond the mind, because I have spent much more time there. And this is where a lot of wisdom and intelligence is laying, in the heart, in the body, intuition, where you don't have to overprocess a lot of information for the brain that overwhelm us. And in an era where AI will compute most of the information and data, it does not make sense to try to compete as humans with that. And as usual, I would like to invite a practice to close for this week with a grounding meditation. So you can close your eyes slowly, and a very soft breathing, grounding. So coherent, heart coherence breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And as you keep breathing, start to feel more lightness in your body, feeling the movement of your chest, of your body, the whole breathing in, breathing out throughout your body, and how every muscle, every part of your body is moving with your breath. And if you find yourself busy with some thoughts, it's okay. Just observe them. You can always come back to it and take a deep breath. And let go of that thought, breathe out. And come back to your breathing always. For those few minutes of grounding and just being back in the body. Breathing in, breathing out. And as you slowly come back, just observe maybe the quality of your thoughts, perception, how it has shifted just by doing this meditation. So thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to be at Gamescom. So I'd love to connect and meet some of you. I'll be organizing some get-together, so just write me and to have the place where we will meet. For me, I really care to connect personally with people. Of course, I'm there to do business, but that's not my primary goal. It's human first connection. So if that resonates with you, let's connect. And also later today, we're going to have a workshop on leading beyond the mind and an introduction to the work I've been doing with sacred plant medicine. For ones who are familiar with it or not, are curious minds, then join us later today at 6 p.m. CET. The link is going to be in the show notes. Stay fresh, hydrated during the summer, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in into this weekly reflection, the weekly spark of awareness. After this episode, I invite you to take a few moments with yourself, even just 15 minutes to sit with what resonated, to breathe, and to notice what is shifting inside. This is a practice, a discipline of presence, truth, and self-connection. If this work speaks to you, I accompany leaders in one-on-one journeys and group experiences of transformation, supporting them as they cross the threshold into a truer and freer way of leading and living. If you feel called to explore this path, I would love to hear your story, and let's connect. Sending you love and courage, and have a great week ahead. This is my spark of awareness.